Alright. Hey everyone. The castle here. Gonna explain some stuff. Alright, with that said, alright, so like I ran into some like replication errors last night and then I managed to just fix everything. So hierarchical instancing is now fully functional as it should be in the level editor as it should be. So like here's an instance. Here, let me skibbity wop. Skitty wop wop wop. All right, so you see how like this is an instance over. This is the this is a prefab volume right here, right? See this, and then I saved it over to test 03, right? And then over here is the prefab. This is just a prefab point. In other words, this is where you use to place the actual prefab, and right, and this is it's all just one object, right? And check this out. Like even though it's even on like different angle, it still reorients itself um based on like its world space position. So it goes into it carries everything over on a local space. In other words, even though I built this on a weird angle, because you could definitely tell that's on a weird angle compared to everything else, right? And then I placed this on a weird angle. But check this out. I could put a floor right next to it. That shit lines up. It lines up. Okay, so you can tell that this prefab is still lining up, even though I built the prefab over here at a weird angle, right? But there's more. So that's this being the prefab object. Now watch what happens if I join up in multiplayer. Come on. Sessions will work locally and on LAN. It does not work over the internet. You have to have direct IP connect right now, and it kind of sucks. But at some point in time in the future, I will have like sessions working over the internet as well. So you'll be able to just join servers, and you'll see all kinds of cool stuff. And looks like the world's like building itself right now. It's kind of hilarious, actually. Um, I never did get around that bug where it shows the loading screen after a little while. So you'll notice that. So here I am looking at this prefab right here. I'm a spectator. I'm going to position this in a spot where you can see it. All right, now let me do something like, oh, I don't know. Let me add a new object. Let me go. Let me add a prop. Let me add a barrel. Kind of adding barrels to stuff lately. Lots of barrels getting added to stuff lately, actually. That's like a record-breaking number of barrels. Let me go into lighting. Okay, so I'm in lighting now. Let me change the color of this light to red. Now it's yellow, actually. Alright, we'll make it red for now. Right? Now I go back into doing the let me reposition this so that it's like in a better spot so you can see it. Alright. Let me get back into prefab mode. Okay, so you can see I'm saving this file, this volume. Anything that's inside of this volume will be saved to a prefab called test 03 in multiplayer. So watch as as the prefab updates. Oof, nice shadow lag. Not sure why. Sometimes it'll do that where it gets laggy. It might be getting laggy because there's a lot of other prefabs in the map, honestly. But yep, there it is. Anytime someone updates one of these prefabs, it causes every prefab to check every prefab, so so that they can all update in real time, basically. So yeah, that's that. Like this is it. The prefab system is working. So one of the other things I noticed about this prefab system, you can build guns with this thing. I was actually realizing it. Like in the last video, if you watched it, only 4 people watched it, so chances are if you're watching this, you probably didn't watch it. But you could build guns in this system in a multiplayer environment where you just see somebody working on a gun and it's just like floating in space and it's gigantic, but you could just like slap pieces onto it and make it just using all different kinds of meshes and slapping pieces together until you get something that looks like what you want, and then you can place where the muzzle flash is, where the brass ejects from, and where the magazine, like whatever, what parts are the magazine that fall down when you reload, and like stuff like that, right? um all that stuff can be done using this system. All I need to do is the target name, and just make a new category in meshes. And it's totally possible to parse a file that's using gun parts, right? So the gun parts actually could be, and it's kind of funny too, 'cause somebody could use the same thing and like build a level out of gun parts. But in this particular case, you can, if I have like 20 or 30 particular different like pieces of gun that anyone at any point in time can just like make like a gun volume instead of a prefab volume, make a gun volume, and just have that be like something that gets saved to a file. Yeah, this is totally possible. I can make it so that anyone can make like sniper rifles, machine guns, mini guns, anything. Because all you need to do is with each one of the parts of the gun is you identify what part of the gun it's going to be attached to. So, if you want the frame of the gun to be attached to the handle, then you would have to give it like a target name of handle. And then maybe if it's a spinning barrel, maybe you can identify it that way. Be like, okay, this is part of the spinning barrel, and basically the spinning barrel is just something that you would be attaching to that spins, like this in this kind of a way, like in a forward vector sort of. Um, and then you can do other stuff too, like the reloading, like shotgun cocking, like yeah, and then you can do like different settings, like how does the gun offset, how much does it kick, how much, all that stuff is just part of the gun stats anyway. And yeah, the system can be used to make the gun. So you could be working on a gun while two of your friends are like working on part of the map over here, and you could be like making a gun while with your friends, watching everybody work together and like building stuff together, and then you can use this exact system, right, to build a gun. So, yeah, and I was actually thinking that it's entirely possible that this could be true for characters too. Now, you can have like different types of heads and everything like that. Same exact principle. Whatever the target name of the object is the part that would be attached to. So you would have wrist. You would have different parts that are attached to the wrist. You'd have different parts that are attached to the fucking, you know what I mean? Like and then once you built that character, you can go over here, spawn it, and go into combat mode and see what the character actually looks like running around trying to kill you, or something like that. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So it would be like all these different types of like wrist parts and shoulder parts and all this kind of stuff that you can build with. Like you can have like different types of legs and different types of thing, and you just figure out how they attach and you put them together using this kind of a system where like for stuff like this, I would default the grid it being like a lot more fine. So like let me yeah, let me see if I can get like a block right here. Like, you know what I mean? See how the block has a much finer grid? So like, if I was to build like a really shitty sort of voxel gun, you know what I mean? Like maybe this would be the handle, right? But I would provide parts that are a little bit better than this kind of stuff. Like, but yeah, you'd be able to like kind of like put things together, and then maybe like have like a I can already kind of envision this. This is like a really shitty example of it, but like like you can take the barrel, it's so thin, and then maybe you can have like a scope over here, and then you could be like, and then there's another part, but maybe like there's this like fancy thing that you can kind of put at the bottom of the barrel, and then maybe there's like a knife that you could put on the end of it, and then you could set up the weapon stats and stuff like that. Like I'm not really sure how you'd be able to do that though, because it would be interesting to figure out like how I would want to how I would want you to be able to like input like with the gun, what kind of projectile does it fire, how much damage does it do, like stuff like that, like um and then make it so that the value of the gun is based on like how good it is and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I mean it's totally possible. This is so possible. Like I definitely see this as being like a thing. Like this can definitely work. Um, I don't know if there's really any drawbacks other than the fact that sometimes you might need it. Like if you have a gun with too many parts, then you might have to like uh be conscious of like how heavy the how many different parts the gun has, because when you switch to the gun, the instant weapon switching, you might see the gun's parts kind of pop in when you switch to the gun because it's being loaded in real time, like right in front of you. So you might not, you know what I mean? But what I might actually do is just load all of the guns. The guns are going to be super tiny, by the way, and they're not going to appear in multiplayer because your view model is going to be different from from your actual body. So what I might do is I might just spawn all of the guns behind the player's head, so they're always there. They're just floating behind you, so in a place that you'll never see them. Other players will never see them, and then just make it so that they pop in front of you whenever you're switching. And maybe there could be kind of like a cool thing where they come down or something like that. But that's basically the premise of how that would actually work. So that would solve that problem right there. Now the scale of the gun is like gigantic when you're building it, but the view model, unlike what I did with Revulsion, I'm going to be making the view model very tiny and right in front of the player's HUD and right in front of the player camera. And the reason why is because I don't want the gun, when you walk up to the wall, I don't want the gun to clip into the wall. So the guns are going to be really tiny and right, like they're going to take up this much space, but they're going to be right in front of your eyeballs. So the guns are going to look big. You're not going to be able to tell the difference as the player. You're just going to be like, wow, there's a gun in front of me right now. You're not going to realize that the gun is like super tiny. But, it's just a trick. It's a trick that I should have employed in the first Revulsion, but I never really got around to it because it would require like redoing the, I don't know, stuff. It would, who knows? It would have been, there's a lot of things that I could have done, could have, would have, should have. Well, now I'm doing them because I'm redoing everything from scratch. Now I know what pitfalls to avoid. Now I know what to, how to do things correctly that, that didn't happen. I've learned a lot. I learned a lot. So with that said, this project is like, it's not even a contest anymore. This shit is just blowing the fuck out of everything that the first game is right now. Um, Even graphically, like, yeah, wait until you see the new material. So, all right. So now that I have all this all lined up, right? Now that I have all this lined up, the next thing I need to do is an art pass. So I'm thinking for like a good chunk of this month, I'm gonna be just making art. I'm gonna be building all kinds of stuff, gun parts, fucking. I'm gonna be focused very much on getting the art working and just bug fixing with the level editor and stuff like that. The art is extremely important because all these textures and all these new assets that I make, all these new props, everything like that, are going to then be needed. I'm going to then need to use those to actually build the first expansion for Revulsion 1, which is, Death Spiral, which it'll be like a pack of like maybe 9 maps or so, right? And maybe 9 or 10 maps in total, which could be spread out between like 2 or 3 missions, right? So I'm gonna be really busy just making art, new normal maps, and like you'll notice that with this material that I just made, um, you'll notice that even though it's pixel art, I actually have normal maps working with it, and it's a very simple process. So like maybe it's kind of hard to see it, but you notice that like if I go really far down, like over here, you'll see like you see how these pixels end up being black. So I kind of taken sort of the Project Warlock approach where you draw the the actual ink outline of what the texture is supposed to be first, and then I use normal maps to accentuate that, and then I add the color map, which will end up following more like a regular color scheme, but it'll be designed so that it's a little bit more muted, so that most of the shading actually happens from the normal mapping itself. The and then you apply a additional very subtle um oh god, not a glow map, fucking. Well, for some reason I'm blanking out on the name of the one that actually adds glow to the texture, but you use that to sort of trace around the black pixels, so that even in complete darkness, like all the way over here where it's like super dark, you can still see. Like if I'm ever in a room that's pitch black, right? You'll still see the edges. You'll see some kind of lighting. You'll still see the details of the texture, at least a little bit. So that's these sort of brighter pixels like this. Um, it's killing me that I don't remember the name of the glowy part of a texture right now. But let's see. All right, and then in addition to that, I also have the um, virtual displacement setup, but I'm not. It's not visible right now. But yeah, virtual displacement will be, is present, as well as just sort of like regular sort of offsetting the different pixels, so that when you look at something, like the darker pixels look like they're in a little bit more, while the brighter pixels are brighter. A proper specular pass that's actually built, custom built, so that you can see, like, the way things are supposed to look with specularity and everything like that. Um, Once you start seeing like actual textures using this method, it's gonna pop a lot better than pretty much anything from the first Revulsion. In fact, it's not even gonna be fair. It's gonna trounce the original content, because this is using much better stuff. Not only that, but it's more efficient too. It's actually gonna run better. So yeah, I'm about to kind of shit all over my own stuff from a while back, because I've improved quite a bit in that time span. And yeah, so this will be pretty interesting to see just how much of a leap the new stuff is going to be versus the old stuff. It's not even. It's really dumb, actually. Um, Now with that said, I think that's pretty much the end of this video. I'm gonna go ahead and end this now. I hope you guys are enjoying this, and everything like that. There's a lot coming along the line here, and I'm not working on small stuff at this point in time. I think I'm going to safely just say it right now. This isn't a small project anymore. This isn't just like somebody's thing. This this is breaking through some barriers that I don't think anyone else is even looking at right now. So yeah, that's that, I guess. Take it easy.